This is crab position breathing. The purpose of this drill is to use our arm position to bias some expansion through the front of our chest. So you're going to need either a ball or a foam roller. It doesn't really matter what you're using. It's simply a placeholder to place between your knees to keep your knees, hips, and feet in line. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our hands pointing, or our fingers, sorry, pointing straight ahead. Legs are at about 90 degrees. We're going to drive our feet or heels down into the floor and slightly pull back. We're going to tuck our pelvis here a little bit, and then we're going to push through the floor to hover above the floor. Now from here, with driving down and pulling back, I'm thinking push through the floor the whole time, but with a slight bend in the elbow, like really subtle. So what we just want to make sure is that we don't hyperextend that joint. So a really subtle bend in the arm, just make sure that you're not hyperextending here. Now in this position here, we want to make sure that our head stays neutral. We're going to focus on our breathing. We're going to exhale through our mouth till we feel a little bit of our side core turn on. Keeping that tension through our side core, we're going to breathe in through our nose. Now you'll notice that my chest is expanding there. A couple things that we want to make sure here. The first thing is that a really common mistake, like I mentioned already, is the elbows hyperextending. The next one is that people's shoulders will kind of roll forward as you start to get fatigued. Make sure that if you get fatigued, just drop down, come back again. You can even do this position without being posted by just kind of pushing through the floor, still with that tuck. But you can also do this position from the floor as well here, so we don't get as fatigued and those shoulders don't roll in. So our shoulders will naturally retract, so I don't want you to over cue kind of retracting those shoulders. That natural push into the floor will help us get there. So like I said, common mistake is elbow hyperextending, coming back through, and then head position kind of being either too far back or too tucked. So make sure that you keep those in mind through the movement. If you're having trouble with your wrist position, being in that extended spot, you could either elevate your hands slightly by putting, I don't know, a couple magazines or a really small weight plate or a yoga mat under your hand to offload you. If that still doesn't feel right, you can simply turn those wrists out a little bit with the goal to eventually, as you progress through this exercise, get those fingers pointing straight ahead.